to a live late show, everybody. Joining me now is the senior senator from the state of Minnesota and a former presidential candidate herself. Please welcome Senator Amy Klobuchar. Senator, thank you for being here on such a troubling day. I really appreciate you taking the time. I hope that you and your staff are fine. Is everyone okay?
Oh, they're fine. I'm just mostly worried about our country and what they saw today. And that's what was, I think, on everyone's mind. And that's why it was so important that after this angry mob invaded the Capitol, and by the way, I'm sitting in the president's room, where in the past presidents would have cordial meetings with leaders of Congress, where a new president would sign the documents when he got sworn in. And to think that this president incited this mob to come in this building, and I'm literally sitting a few yards away for where they stormed into the Capitol. And the important thing for us tonight, for both actually Democratic and Republican leaders, was that we return to our desks and we get the job done. And we just voted 93 votes against the objections to the certified state election in Arizona, which is what instigated all of this, with 93 senators declaring Joe Biden won that election.
I want to talk about that moment. Was the last time I saw you on camera before any of this happened was you reading the complaint about the Arizona election. And then the chambers went to their separate houses, the Senate and the House. Mm-hmm. Where were you when the actual breaching of the Capitol happened? And can you walk me through how you knew that you were supposed to leave? How were all of you informed what was going on?
So I'm the ranking on the Rules Committee, the highest ranking Democrat. So I'd actually just spoken and made my case against Senator Cruz, taking him on. He had spoken, one or two more senators spoke, and then all of a sudden, in the middle of Senator Langford's speech, they said that the Capitol had been breached and that we needed to stay in place. So we waited in the Senate chamber for a while. People were milling around. People were following the news. And then all of a sudden, believing we were safe in the Senate chamber, all of a sudden they announced that we weren't. And we were quickly taken to another room in the office complex where we actually sat together for the entire day, Democrats and Republicans and our staff, as we awaited the clearing of the Senate chamber. And there was a lot of, I will tell you, major discussions between people about what has been going on and what this president has done.
Were you watching this unfold on TV? Were you seeing the people going into your chamber, seeing the people, someone standing up there actually at the president of the Senate seat, people with their feet up on Nancy Pelosi's desk? What was going through your mind and your heart as you saw this mob running rampant?
I actually asked that we turn the TVs on in the room that we were, because I think it's important for people to realize what's going on here, especially for those people that have gone along with this president. And what you feel when you see that is you think, he has incited this. This isn't just some tweet he sends out in the morning for fun that's a joke, oh, you don't believe him, that some people say. He is literally telling his people to march down the mall, to go to the Capitol, and he urged them on.
Tell me more about the conversations between the senators and the people in their own offices. What were you saying to each other about that moment?
Well, I think all of us cherish this democracy. And there were a lot of heartfelt conversations about, are you going to continue this quest to object to the duly elected electors that came out of state certified elections, that where over 80 judges have literally said, no, these claims are baseless, they're reckless, they're not based on the Constitution, so why are you following along? And it's my hope a number of those senators actually changed their vote. And maybe it's because they felt violated, our democracy had been violated, when those people were sitting in our chairs, when they were standing at the dais of the U.S. Senate, where we were supposed to be conducting the nation's business, but a number of them changed their vote. And so those were the kinds of discussions we were having.
Does it upset you at all that they didn't change their votes until the chickens came home to roost in their own home even though they knew that they were stirring up trouble everywhere else in the country by promulgating this lie.
Of course it does. But I figured my job today was to try to bring as many people with me and with our side as we could, and to do it in a way that would give them that space. And the reason I did it is because, and made this case to our caucus, I want Joe and Kamala to come in with bipartisan support. I want to leave what Joe Biden called the grim era of demonization behind us and actually get things done. We've got mounting body bags in this country. We've got people with empty chairs at the table. We've got kids that aren't going to school. We've got people out of work. We've got people that haven't gotten the vaccine because this president has failed to distribute it. And so this idea that we would be wasting our time, and then to add to all that, we have a president inciting a mob, is against not just the rule of law in our democracy, but it's against what every citizen needs right now in our country. So my view was, the more we can bring on right now, as mad as I am at them, and I don't want anyone to mistake this, that I forgive them. I think that what they did was atrocious, but at the same time, we have to move forward as a nation.
I agree. We have to move forward as a nation, but I saw you, all the senators, go back into the chamber, and I saw the debate. And while there was some passion to that debate, it looked alarmingly normal to me. And I know you say that you're angry. I know you're from Minnesota, so it's hard to tell when people are angry from there. But America is angry. America is deeply shaken and disturbed by what they just saw.
Yes.
How, as the party that is now in control of the House and the Senate and the White House, shouldn't there be consequences? Not only for the people who walked in and did this, their faces are on camera and their crimes are documented. I mean, the people who promulgated the lie. Should there not be consequences so severe that no one will ever think to foment an insurrection against this government again without shuddering at the prospect of what will happen to them?
Of course there should. I'm a former prosecutor. And what I was talking about was working with these senators to get things done for the people of this country. This is a whole different story, Stephen. Every one of these people should be brought to justice. Every one of them should go to jail. They literally invaded the Capitol.
But I hope you're including Josh Hawley. You have to include Ted Cruz. You have to include Marsha Blackburn, because these are people who actually know better. That crowd is ignorant. Those people in that Senate chamber are actually the sinners here.
And let's start with the original sinner and the one that really incited this mob, which is the President of the United States. Because this is someone that just lost his election and refuses to believe it. And he has demonized every single person that has been willing to stand in his way or stand up against him. And so there are serious discussions right now about what should happen to this president, even though he will leave office on January 20th.
Should he be allowed to serve out the rest of his term, the last 14 days? Should the 25th Amendment be invoked? Should he be impeached so he can never run again?
So here's the problem. Not only did he incite it, he didn't do anything to stop it. He could have stopped it, and he didn't do that because these people were listening to him. There are interviews all day where people have been saying that to the media. I would call that Exhibit A. So first of all, if you use the 25th Amendment, you have to get the majority of the cabinet and the vice president. Let's see if they are willing to stand up to him. Impeachment, I've already voted for impeachment. I feel very strongly that he should have been impeached. That is going to be something that we would have to do literally in the next week. And we don't even have our new senator seated yet, but I think that's something that should be considered as well. But the point of this is that today, based on that vote, we have bipartisan support against what this president is doing. And so that will be helpful no matter what happens.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Senator. I know this is an incredibly trying day for you. Thank you for...
More trying, Stephen. It's trying for America. It's not trying for me.
I appreciate what you're saying, and I understand that. But I appreciate you and the other senators who attempted to do the right thing today, and in the face of this resistance. And for America.
It was a coup. I mean, I kept calling it a coup when they brought it up, but right now that's what you saw that this president tried to incite. But I will tell you one thing, he failed.
Do you have a message for the American people?
We have a new president. On January 20th, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are going to be inaugurated. This era will be behind us, but for those people that desecrated this Capitol and created these acts of violence, they will be prosecuted, and this Justice Department should start right now and do it now, but it will continue on into Joe Biden's administration. He has made that very clear. This cannot be tolerated.
Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, everybody. Thank you, Senator. We'll be right back with Representative Adam Kinzinger.